Hello and welcome to Two Guys in a Classroom. I'm Garrett Henson and I'm here with my best friend and co-host Joseph Dickinson. Today we're talking about the purpose and the importance of the first day of the school year, which is timely because the two of us are starting new teaching jobs this month. You're going to hear Joseph reference an instructional video produced by Nick Romanolo in the teaching channel called Setting the Tone, which you can find on YouTube. We encourage you to check that out. You'll also hear about our icebreaker techniques and Joseph's creative methods for organizing and decorating a classroom. We're excited to get the conversation started, so let's jump right in. So Joe, I wanted to ask you what you think is the most important thing for a teacher to accomplish on the first day in class.
The number one goal is setting the tone. A teacher who I'm neighbors with this year, Mr. Mancuso is his name, we were talking about ties and wearing them, and we both wore ties. 2 out of the 4 days we were at work this week, and we were just talking about how it just sets the tone, like small things like that, how you're a professional, you expect your students to be professionals. So it's all about just setting a good tone.
Yeah, I think the first few times I taught, my whole strategy with connecting with students was built around this idea that I needed them to think that I was relatable. And so I would come in and I'd be like, yeah, we're studying Shakespeare. I know it's not that cool, and I think that was just a huge mistake in retrospect. It's like you want the kids to be able to approach you and you want them to think of you as someone who is a human being, but at the same time, you've got to be that teacher. And yeah, it starts with the tie, but it goes a long way in terms of how you talk to them and how you talk about your subject even. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because if you're not excited about your lesson, your students won't be.
Right.
And just to really test this out, when I would teach about the Gilded Age and searching for gold, those 2 lessons were probably the worst because they were hard to get students excited about. And so I just did a test. Out of 2 classes, I told one class that it was not going to be that much fun. We just got to get through this lesson to get to the fun stuff. And then the other class, I just told, we're gonna learn about some fun stuff today. We're gonna learn about the getting the gold process, what exactly the Gilded Age was. I just really amped up something that it's boring to learn. I don't even like learning about it.
Right.
And the end result was the students who I jazzed up the lesson, it wasn't that bad. And the students who I told it was going to be a boring day were bored out of their minds. They were counting down the minutes until the class ended. So when you were talking about, yeah, guys, we're going to talk about Shakespeare, I know it sucks. I was the same way. Like, I wanted to be that teacher that was approachable. Even as much as I hate to admit it, I wanted to be the cool teacher.
Right.
But then you learn that it doesn't matter if you're the cool teacher or not. If the students respect you and they know that you're a professional, they're going to enjoy the lesson. Right.
Yeah, it's you expect that if you just fake a lot of enthusiasm, that the students are going to see right through that. And so there is kind of an art to being enthusiastic but not making it seem fake. But at the end of the day, if you can have that enthusiasm, it's always better than to say, oh, it's Shakespeare, oh, it's the Gilded Age, because it gives your students a reason to buy in. And some of them may not, but you've got to give them the reason for them to buy in at all, right?
Oh, absolutely. I firmly think that teaching is 40% just acting.
Yeah, you're
just
right.
Putting on a show, just putting a show on for your students. That way they feel, okay, I can get excited about this. He's at least excited about this.
Right. Well, here's another question, maybe a little more specific. What activities or techniques do you use on the first day to set that tone, and also just in general to start off the class the right way?
It was from that same YouTube video, Setting the Tone. The main point of the video, it's like a 2-minute long video, but he lines all of his students up in the hallway and has them practice on walking in the classroom. Because especially with middle school students, they may be running into the classroom, they may be coming back from an elective, and they're just really excited. So they want to run in the classroom. Well, you can't have that and expect your classroom to be relaxed and safe and a real learning process to take place. So I line up all my students in the hallway against the wall. And if you're making noise, you don't go in my room. The classroom's a privilege. I tell all the students, I introduce myself. I even say good morning or good afternoon. But when I hand you that syllabus. If you make noise, I'm going to tell you to go to the back of the line and we'll try it again.
Wow, that's Joseph's military training coming out a little bit, maybe.
I actually had students ask me before I told them if I was in the military, like before I told them I was in the military, they were like, were you in the military? I was like, I am. And I'm just in the National Guard, nothing special. I'm not in infantry. But to them, they think I'm John Rambo. And I'm just like, I am not John Rambo.
But you can play the part because teaching is acting, Joseph.
There you go.
It all comes back around. Yeah, so I actually really like that because it, you know, for one thing, you're right, it like helps with classroom management, but it also sends a message that learning spaces and the act of learning are something that we should give our respect to. It even just more generally plays a part in changing students' attitudes about the process of learning. So you've got to, like you said, you've got to give them a reason to be excited about education, but you also have to give them a reason to value coming to school. You know, you're never going to get kids to believe that like school is the most important thing and that they should cherish every second of it. That's not going to happen. But if you can teach them to at least treat it with the same kind of respect that you treat it with as a teacher, then you've made big progress.
Yeah, you have to sell it to the students.
Right. So how do you connect with students on a more personal, approachable level? So I know we said that's not the main objective of a first day, but what steps do you take to try to make yourself more, I don't know, relatable or available to your students on that first day?
Two things that I always do on the first day is an about me. I've done this since my first day of teaching. It's literally just a questionnaire for the students. It could be how many siblings. The questions, for example, this year's were, how many siblings do you have? Do you have any? What is your favorite movies? If you could listen to any music right now, what would it be? What are your favorite books? What is your favorite class? Do you do any extracurricular activities? What is your least favorite class? What did your favorite teacher in the past do that made you love them so much? What did your least favorite teacher do that you did not like so much? And then last, I do a question at the bottom, anything Mr. D needs to know? This is probably one of the biggest ones because you may have a student tell you that they have anxiety issues, so they may need to step out. Now, your particular students with anger issues, social issues, could be diabetes, just random things that they may need to go to the nurse. This lets you know that, hey, to be on the lookout for that they're not making this up. And so it just keeps you in the know about everything. But for the students to know about me, I do also a PowerPoint. The PowerPoint that's not educational, it's nothing to do with procedures, it's nothing to do with the syllabus, it's strictly about me. I show pictures of my wife, my son. There's actually a picture of you, me, and Tyler Porter in there from when we went to the ball game a couple years back.
That's awesome.
A picture of the cover of my favorite books and favorite movies and TV shows, just so the students know a little bit more about me. When they see the cover of Stranger Things on my favorite TV shows, like you can always tell, like the ones who really like it because their eyes light up.
Right.
Because they're like, oh, he watches that. He is normal. He doesn't live at the school 24/7.
Right. Do you have any icebreaker games that you use at middle school or that you have used at high schools in the past or anything like that?
When I taught high school, I never actually did the whole icebreaker thing. I just did the get to know you sheet.
Right.
I didn't do icebreaking stuff because they were so strict on their curriculum. The head of the department started on the first day, so I was like, I don't have time for a good old icebreaker.
Wow.
But in middle school, if there is enough time, I do a name tent. You take a piece of construction paper and you fold it in half, write your name really big on the front side, just so I could see your name, and just learning students' names becomes so much easier that way for me.
Right.
But then on the back of the paper, you write a fun fact about you or characteristics about you.
Yeah, that's good. And it actually serves two purposes, like you said, which is good. I think some teachers are, especially college professors, it seems like, a lot of them just have this gift where they can go around and hear everybody's name once and then they're like, got it, done. And that is not me, not at all. That's
when there's teachers who know all their students' names on the first day, I'm like, how? And I'm pretty sure one teacher I work with, she's very, very organized. She looks at past pictures in the SysK-12, like how they keep account of roll and all that. I'm pretty sure she looks at their pictures and just knows them by that and then memorizes it. And it's impressive, but I cannot do it. I had to look at my roster. Like, some teachers are talking about students on the second day, and I'm just like, I've got to go get my roster because I've got no idea who you're talking about.
Yeah.
So.
Three icebreaker questions that I thought really hard about and then was really proud of that I would use on first days. And one of them was, what's your guilty pleasure junk food? And people get really excited about that one for whatever reason. And I always answer mine first because, it's just a good chance for you to make fun of yourself. And I would say, so I want to know your guilty pleasure junk food. Mine is going to Popeyes and eating 6 biscuits just right out of the carton. And they really like that. And I would like really play it up. I know. I would be like, I always go to a Popeyes it's got to be attached to a gas station and it's just got to be filthy. And I get 6 butter biscuits and just eat them all in one go. And
so basically my Denny's is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's not a filthy Denny's. Does it even count?
Yeah, it's not really Denny's at that point. It's something else. My other one was, what Netflix show do you binge on? And you get a lot of Parks and Rec and Office and Riverdale, which I don't even know what that is, and Stranger
Some
Things.
Drama. I haven't heard any students talk about it yet, because sometimes I'll watch the shows with my students just to know a little bit about it, but I'm just like, I had a lot of students ask me this year if I've watched 13 Reasons Why. I was like, I watched the first season. And it was depressing, and I heard the second season, it's just as depressing, so I'm good.
You hit your quota for depressing stuff, probably, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I stole one from my favorite undergrad professor, who would always ask on the first day, give me your name and your favorite cereal. I feel like people, they don't have to struggle to think of their favorite cereal, Like, if you ask too open-ended of a question, then it stumps people. But most people can dish out a favorite cereal really quickly, so...
Never got that one before. That's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, most of them are pretty obvious stuff, but I always say peanut butter crunch. You got a favorite cereal?
Raisin Bran. I'm an old man.
Oh, my God. You're ancient.
Yeah.
Raisin Bran. That's classic, Jim.
My wife makes fun of me, too.
Well, okay. Let's move on to talking about how do you express to your students or articulate to your students why the subject or the content that you're teaching to them matters. Because, especially for you and I, because you're a history teacher and I'm an English teacher, there's kind of a understanding almost when students walk in the room that these subjects aren't as important or as necessary as math and science. So these students aren't going to walk into math and have their teacher say to them, here's the 6 reasons why math is important. Kids just know math is important and science. So especially as people who are teaching English and history, I mean, what do we do to express to our students, this is why this actually matters, not just because you have to take it, but because it's genuinely important?
My favorite part about teaching social studies, and I'm at the new school this year, and the principal has told me numerous times how socially active, as in activists, not just active, they're activists, and they are all about some social justice. So with that,
this is your students specifically?
Yes. Like, the students, they have their own, social justice club.
Wow.
And they meet. And so with that, I've done this before I started here, I tie present events that are taking place to events in the past. For example, the Sons of Liberty, when they protested with the Boston Massacre, with the Boston Tea Party, we tie those events of how people are protesting today.
Right.
And so I have a lot of fun with that. So since it is a type of school that is about social justice, that's how I'm tying it to them. So just making it relatable to them. For example, we'll be talking about Christopher Columbus around September. So we will be justifying, was Christopher Columbus a protagonist or was he an antagonist?
Right.
and just making it relatable to the students. And instead of telling them the facts, making them really question what the history books have told us throughout our entire lives.
Yeah, I really like that, because I think a lot of times when you hear students say, I hate history or I hate English, the reason that they bring up is, I hate that there's no right answer, that you can't just figure out a formula and get the right answer and it's done. But I think that a good teacher can make that work for his subject. He can say, that's the beauty of history, that's the beauty of English. There's no right answer, which means that we get to have these conversations and come up with creative solutions, as opposed to just learning the 4 steps that are required to come up with such answers, right?
Yeah, and that's what my department that I'm working this year, they've gotten down to a science on the website they use, the documents they use, on how to look at things from a historian's perspective. So that is going to be nice. But yeah, I even this year I started off, and I've never done it before this first year, just using the quote from Mark Twain: "History doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme." And just in the fact of, it won't be the same events, but history is repeating itself, whether we think it is or not.
Right. Yeah, I think people say history repeats itself, but a lot of times they don't think about what that means for us. What's our responsibility to history? So I really like that. That's cool.
How do you tie in, because students know they need to be able to write, but how do you get them to see the importance of writing?
Right. I'm actually putting together, or I just finished putting together, a PowerPoint for my first day tomorrow that tries to answer that question. And basically I start with the idea that writing, because I'm teaching composition, writing is in fact a unique form of thinking. A lot of people don't know that the way your brain operates when you write is fundamentally different than how it operates when you talk or when you just think to yourself. A different part of the brain is being used. And so writing allows us to engage with thoughts in a totally different way. And so writing can bring these new ideas and these new connections to you that you never would have gotten to without putting pen to paper or sitting down at your laptop. And so I like to stress that writing is just this whole new arena for thinking and for exploring ideas. But I also go through and I say, writing makes you a better thinker, and being a better thinker makes you a better neighbor, and being a better neighbor makes you a better citizen, and being a better citizen makes you a better professional. So I really try to cover all those bases of if you learn to write well, or you improve yourself as a writer, you're going to be better as a person to your friends, to your family, to your country, at your job. And I think that's pretty much all that anyone cares about, right? Doing those things well. And so that's sort of my attempt for this semester, and maybe I'll have to change things when I see how it goes tomorrow, but that's what I tried to do this time around.
That's deep, brother.
Getting deep on this podcast.
I love it.
So do you want to talk about steps that you take to make your classroom a better learning space? I can't really speak to that because I haven't had my own classroom just yet, but I know you've had some experience.
Well, my wife decorates my room every year because I'm lucky.
That's awesome.
And she gets on Pinterest. I give her some ideas that I want to do, and then she just runs with it. But yes, so this year is superheroes, but Harry Potter was the best one because both of us are super Harry Potter nerds.
Yeah.
So we appreciate that one the most. So stole the idea from Harry Potter. I didn't. My wife did, and I stole it from her. She told me about how you break your class up into teams. Well, each class is a team, so I broke them up into teams. There was the Hogwarts houses: Hufflepuff, Slytherin, Ravenclaw, Gryffindor. I had 6 classes, so we made Dumbledore's Army and the Death Eaters. So each class competes against another class, and you get points for different things. If everybody is in their seat before the bell rings, you get 3 points. If you get an A on a test, you get 5 points. Everybody turns in their homework, it's 10 points. Everybody's working hard the entire class, you get 3 points or 5 points. You determine the points at your discretion. But it's a classroom management key or tool that's extremely simple. It keeps the students motivated. And then at the end of every quarter, you do a celebration. One time I did a pizza party, and during the 30-minute lunch break, we had pizza, and I put on the Goblet of Fire for them. Now, most of these students had never watched Harry Potter a day in their life, but because it was the Goblet of Fire, they were they definitely did not want me to teach the lesson the next day. They wanted to watch the Goblet of Fire.
Right.
And then my principal loved the idea so much, and he is also a huge Harry Potter nerd. So he approved it to let me take the class that won the second quarter to go see Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
That's awesome.
It was great. Yeah, he went with us, and it was the students loved it because they got to see the principal out of his normal environment. He got to be a big kid. He loved it because he has 2 kids of his own, so he got to enjoy the movie. So it was a win-win for everybody that day.
Yeah. And so do you even like keep the points up on a board on display in the class?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then did they seem to like respond to that? Was it a good motivator for them? Were they pretty into it?
Yeah, it was such a big motivator that one class actually cheated.
Yeah, Slytherin, I'm sure. Right?
No, it was actually Dumbledore's arm.
Good Lord.
They made up some bogus thing on correcting me. That's another thing too. If you catch Mr. D slipping up, you get 2 points.
Okay.
I do that just so I know that they're paying attention throughout the entire lesson.
Sure.
So if they catch me mess up or catch a grammar mistake in one of my writings, I give them 2 points because they're paying attention enough to catch something.
Right, yeah.
So they made up some bogus thing, and I gave them their 2 points thinking that I messed up, so I just went on it. But at the end of the class, at the end of B class, a student waited for everybody to leave, and he told me what actually happened. I had to start the students back at 0 the next day. It was so bogus, too, because that class was going to win. It was inevitable they were going to win. But they just, it was so bad.
You had to go full Professor Snape on them.
I did. He gets a bad rap, but I actually thought about the other day. That man had the best classroom management of all time.
So we wish you luck as you start a brand new school year, and we'd love to hear from you about any experiences you've had on the first day in your classroom, or if you'd like to write us at 2guysinaclassroom@gmail.com. Maybe we'll even be able to share some stories and thoughts on future podcasts. I think that could be really fun and interesting for us. Does that sound good to you, Joe?
Absolutely, and I would like to personally thank Garrett Henson for producing and putting everything together for us every episode.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish we could do it a little better, have Joseph in front of a good microphone, but right now we're miles apart, so that's just where we're at. But that's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm Garrett.
I'm Joseph.
And this is 2 Guys in a Classroom.